Kellyanne Conway is outraged that Representative Ocasio-Cortez has the audacity to tell us all the truth about what's going on in these detention facilities that are detaining migrants at the border. Now, there have been numerous stories talking about the terrible conditions in which these migrants are being kept in. And here is Conway pretending as if these problems don't exist.
Chuck Schumer wants to talk about photo ops. I saw one yesterday, and it's called Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, going down to one of these facilities and making this outrageous claim that a woman's drinking from a toilet, which everybody who has control over that facility or control for the Border Patrol has said that's not true. They've not heard of this. And then when she was challenged by one of the few reporters who actually ever challenges her facts, she put the window up. Don't let the air condition out. She put the window up. And people need to challenge this because she's one of 95 people, Democrats, who voted against the aid package. You either want the humanitarian aid, the $4.6 billion, to go and help, or you want the photo op.
Now, Ocasio-Cortez did not vote in favor of the $4.6 billion aid package to Border Patrol because of the fact that the bill did not include protections for the migrants. It did not include improvements for the migrants. So she was against that. And I just wanna remind Kellyanne Conway and the rest of the right wing that Donald Trump had no problem diverting $6.7 billion from other departments to the so-called national security that he claimed we had at the border to build that border wall, right? Now, has he started construction on that border wall? No. Was there a national emergency security concern at the border wall? No. But he took $601 million from Treasury forfeitures, $3.6 billion from military construction projects, and then another 2.5 from a different government entity. So he's diverting the money to what he thinks is a national emergency, but migrants, dealing with these terrible conditions, not a national emergency. We don't need to deal with that.
By the way, as to who's telling the truth and who's not, I mean, you really still need to try to figure that out between Kellyanne Conway and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. But Representative Judy Chu was also at the facility, and she backed up Ocasio-Cortez and said, yes, a woman definitely told us that they were being made to drink out of toilets. And so, as usual, it's Trump's team lying about the situation. And Trump went on to say, well, those conditions, they're probably better than where they came from anyway. Gee, I wonder who has empathy for the detainees and immigrants and who doesn't.
So a couple of things. First of all, I gotta go with Kellyanne on this one because everybody knows there's no toilets down on these facilities at all. There's just holes in the ground.
Yeah.
How can you drink water out of those? Number one. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm being facetious.
Of course.
Does anybody remember when Kellyanne was working for some Democratic nominee and her spiel was completely like
the reverse of this?
Trump was a fascist. Trump was the enemy of the people. I mean, and then the person who was writing her check changed, as did her. The problem with Kellyanne Conway is that she believes nothing of what she's saying. It's as clear as the nose on your face, which basically does nothing but desensitize people to the fact that there are facts, that there are things that are right or wrong, that there are real American values. If you are willing to say anything to make a point, whether it's has a modicum of truth in it or it's a complete lie, then you're a disgrace. You are a waste of our time. You're just
Definitely
a bottom feeder.
And she worked for somebody that was against Trump before, and like you said, taking a paycheck. My theory is that she is having her husband George Conway say all those things about Donald Trump, including the guy's lost his mind. Do the 25th Amendment, take him out of office. He's literally insane. And she will later say, "Oh, I told him to say that." When Trump is out of office at some point, and she'll try to cover her ass that way. And that's how snakes react. So that's why it's a laughable proposition that anyone would believe Kellyanne Conway over anyone else, period, let alone Ocasio-Cortez. And so one more thing about how the bills work. So if we had actual tough Democrats, we have some obviously in Ocasio-Cortez, Ro Khanna, Pramila Jayapal, et cetera. But if we had tough Democratic leadership, they would say, hey, we hold a House. If you want this bill to pass, you've got to treat the migrants better. So we will give you the money, but you have to do this, this, and this. For example, they could ask for, I'm just, at this point, these are just hypotheticals. They could ask for beds because they're sleeping on concrete floors. They could ask for all these different things, and they did. They had a version of the bill that asked for the migrants to be treated much better. That's the one that AOC was in favor of. And so then Trump would say, no, I want to treat them terribly because I'm a terrible person, and that is what happened. And then they would have to come to a compromise where they might get beds, but they don't get the other thing, et cetera, et cetera. Instead, as usual, Democratic leadership, first Chuck Schumer, then Nancy Pelosi said, oh, forget it, let's not even bother negotiating. Let's just give Trump everything he wants.
Yeah.
And that's why AOC and the progressives are so mad. And that's why right now there's a rebellion against Nancy Pelosi.
So if we had a real leader, a real Democrat in the House of Representatives who was a real leader, what they would do, in my opinion, is no, we're not gonna hand over that money unless you have these protections. I'm not even willing to negotiate. In fact, I'm gonna hold a press conference every single day where I'm gonna show photos of the conditions in which these children are living in. I'm gonna show video of the conditions in which these children are living in. I'm gonna talk about how many children have died. And I'm gonna put as much political pressure necessary to get the Senate to sign on to this and to get Trump to sign on to what we want. Because this is taxpayer money, and why are we gonna throw taxpayer money at these facilities, which by the way, many are run by private companies, just so they can fatten up their pockets and not actually provide what's needed for the migrants? Because that's essentially what's happening right now.
Yeah, well, one more thing from me on this. Look, to Anna's point, the Democrats never make points that are easily understandable by the American people that they're right about. So for example, they can put up a picture of a bed and go, look, we want to authorize the money, we want to get the money there, but the guy, that's why I use it as the bed as a hypothetical. But the guy says no to beds. Show the pictures of them on the concrete floor and say this guy thinks they should sleep on the concrete floor because he wants to treat them like animals. And you say it day after day after day, then it becomes a conversation of, well, why won't the guy just let them have like mattresses? We're not talking about Ritz-Carlton, we're not talking about fancy things, just a simple mattress or something on the floor so that the kids aren't sleeping on concrete floors and getting flu and dying. For God's sake, give them the beds, right? It's so easy to pound a message like that. But they won't do it because they just have no fight in them. And so when Kellyanne Conway goes on TV there and makes it seem like the progressives don't want to fund the migrants, better living conditions, hilarious, preposterous, and you all know it's true. In fact, even the MAGA guys think that they like that they're being treated so cruelly. So
yeah, look, we know what's really going on, but we don't represent the majority of Americans. The majority of Americans don't have time to sit down and understand the nitty-gritty of every single political issue. And the reason why I bring that up is because on a surface level, the Trump administration is winning with their messaging, okay? So you watch that interview with Kellyanne Conway, and that is a perfectly sound argument. Why didn't AOC sign on to that legislation? Why doesn't she want to fund these detention centers so the conditions improve? My point is, Democrats need to fight, but Democratic leadership is much more concerned about fighting progressives and freshman Democrats as opposed to the real villains here, and the real villains are the Trump administration, members of the Trump administration.
2 easy ways to follow the Young Turks. One is hit the subscribe button down below, then you're a TYT subscriber. And second is ring the bell. And when you do that on YouTube, you're notified of our videos.